Warning! The opinions on this podcast are of the hosts and guests only, and may contain childish humor. Listen at your own discretion. And now, please adjust your headphone volumes to an unreasonable level and prepare to enjoy the most dynamic and electrifying podcast that cyberspace has encountered.
Welcome back to our show. This is episode 55 of Sports Bliss
with Rob
and Kris. Thank you guys for joining us again on this fabulous afternoon. If you are not subscribed to this podcast, please do so, and follow us on Instagram and on Facebook for some updates and great posts, both at Sports Bliss with Rob and Kris. Okay, so we're just going to dive in today. We've got a lot of news to discuss, including NFL, NCAA, and NBA news. Okay, so Rob, tell us what's going on in the news.
Okay, so let's get to this first, because I've been dying to talk to you about this one.
Okay.
Joe Burrow.
Okay.
The Lion King, or Tiger King, right?
Tiger King,
okay.
Yeah.
So it's come out that he hasn't signed his contract yet.
What?
Yeah. And all these contracts are pretty set, especially the number one pick. They negotiate it before the draft.
Oh, yeah. So it's pretty much a done deal.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it should be. You would think it would be.
So is it not a done deal?
Because he doesn't get any money until he signs. He doesn't get a signing bonus. He doesn't do anything. So let me ask you, why do you think... I'll tell you the reason he says he hasn't signed it yet.
Okay.
And then I want to talk about why you and I think he hasn't signed it yet.
So you're calling him out, and you're basically saying that he's a liar.
I may have a conspiracy.
Oh, okay. Oh.
Yeah.
I love a good conspiracy.
Yeah, so... He says he's not signing it because of the whole COVID virus and this, and they don't know when the season's going to start and all this. And
what does that have to do with anything?
Exactly. That's what I said. So why wouldn't he want to just sign?
Is he trying to get more money?
You can't get more money. I mean, you can get more signing bonus, I guess. But the contracts are pretty well set, I think. Used to be they would negotiate, but they have a scale. So if you're picked 1 through whatever, you get this range, and then it goes down and keeps going down.
So it's not like he's holding out like other people have done, Dak Prescott.
Well, he's holding out because he's a free agent, but that's different. You're allowed to do that.
He's not allowed to do this.
I mean, you're allowed to do this, but
it's why?
Why financially would you not sign? For instance, Tua just signed his contract.
Okay.
So he signed his contract. So he's going to get...
even signed it kind of late too, right?
Well, no. I mean, this is about right. Guys are just starting to sign it and all this kind of stuff, but he's now going to get his bonus payment.
Okay, so when is Joe Burrow planning to sign this? Has he said anything, or he's just waiting it out? Because
he hasn't
as far as we're concerned, the NFL is basically saying we're going.
Yeah.
We're going.
Yeah.
So are you on the bus with us, or are you not?
Right. So let me make this a little interesting for you. Okay. Conspiracy. I'm going to twist this a little bit.
Yeah, do it.
He's saying it's because of the COVID, right?
Okay.
But to me, what does that have to do with anything? They're going to make sure it's safe for the players. And come on, let's face it. If a 21 or 22-year-old, 23-year-old gets COVID,
most likely
and they're an athlete in good shape,
okay,
they're going to be fine, statistically.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. That's fact number 1 to my conspiracy.
Okay.
Fact number 2.
Okay.
And I might have talked to Dr. or Mr. X a little bit on this one.
Dr. X?
Well, he is a doctor.
He's
I didn't say it.
Now.
Yeah. In infectious disease, so he knows a lot.
Oh, he knows his stuff then.
Yeah, he knows a lot. So, fact number 2, man can't get paid unless he signs his contract, right?
Is he under contract with something else?
No.
That would inhibit...
But he can't get his money until then. So, what are other reasons why he signed, right?
Right.
Well, let's go back to pre-draft, where he was talking about, I don't know if I want to be in Cincinnati. Remember that leaked? And everybody was like, remember because Eli Manning did this. But he was smart. He had his dad go and say it. And he didn't want to be in San Diego. So that's the reason they traded the pick. So that's how Phillip Rivers got in San Diego and Eli Manning ended up in the Giants.
Right.
It was a draft day trade Because Eli basically said, I'm not playing for San Diego.
Yeah.
But he had his dad say it in the media so he wouldn't be a bad guy.
Right.
And they forced the trade. Well, Joe Burrow, before coming up to the draft, was kind of indicating that I don't know that I want to be with the Bengals.
Interesting. Isn't that his hometown too?
It's his home state.
Home state. Yeah.
But the Bengals are traditionally not a very good organization.
No.
Like, they don't treat their players particularly well. They win enough, but like they haven't really ever won anything per se. They haven't been great.
They just don't have a good
track record with players, right?
Yeah.
So let's go back a little further to Bo Jackson.
Bo knows.
Bo knows. You know what Bo knows?
He knows not to go there.
Bo knows I'm not playing for Tampa Bay that had the number 1 pick. And he told him that straight to their face when he was coming out of college.
Yeah.
Guess who drafted him? The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, number 1 overall. Guess what Bo did?
He didn't sign his contract.
He said, fine, I'll play baseball for a year. He went and played baseball for a year. And you know what happens? You go back into the draft. He was then drafted by the Oakland Raiders. So they wasted the number 1 pick overall on someone that said they didn't want to go there.
But does Joe Burrow play another sport to where that would be relevant?
But maybe it's worth it for him to sit out a year.
But why now?
Because he said before the draft, I don't want to play for the Bengals. And then he got real quiet because everybody's like, well, is there a problem in this?
Why wouldn't he just be honest and say that?
I don't know. This is a conspiracy, by the way. So I'm just throwing it out there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm just throwing it out there.
I mean, you're probably not wrong, but
well,
all allegedly.
What do you think?
I just feel like...
I don't understand why you wouldn't sign it and go ahead and put that money in the bank and start investing it and doing stuff with it.
Yeah.
Why would you want millions of dollars sitting away from you? Doesn't make any sense to me.
Because he wants to win, right? I mean,
that would be the only reason.
The only reason.
Because this is the reason when he first said it, this is the reason people kind of backed him up a little bit. It's because, remember, when you're drafted as a quarterback in the NFL, you're pretty much stuck with that team your whole career unless they want to let you go.
Yeah.
Because you're there for 5 years, then they can franchise tag you, that's 6. They can franchise tag you again, that's 7. Then they can transition tag you, that's 8. You're probably out of the league.
Yeah.
So you're stuck. I mean, look. It took Brady
side,
35 years to get out of New England.
Oh, you say it like it's a bad thing.
No, but
oh my gosh, he was so mistreated at the New England.
No. But I'm saying players, they don't have a choice, especially the quarterbacks. They don't have a choice. They can't leave. They're locked up.
But if he's truly a talented player, he could make anything happen.
That's the way I would feel, but maybe he feels different, that he doesn't have confidence in the organization, that they're not going to go to the next level as well as he plays. Maybe they'll never get players around him because they're too cheap.
I mean, that's a possibility.
You know what I'm saying? This is just my theory. We'll see how it plays out, though, right?
I just feel like, why wouldn't you just come out and say it and try to...
Maybe he has said it to them, and it just hasn't come out.
So if he doesn't sign his contract, then what?
If he decides not to play, say he decides not to play for a whole year, it's not like the NBA. So the NBA, if you decide not to play, say you're in Europe and you don't come over here, then the NBA team holds your rights.
Right.
So like your time doesn't start counting. Do you know what I mean? It isn't like you can go back into the draft. If you decide to come to the NBA, you have to come to that team.
Yeah.
So like, for instance, Fran Vasquez, the Magic took him in the first round. He just retired. He never came to the Magic. He was drafted in like, I don't know, the early 2000s or something. and he was like, basically it came out that his family just didn't want to come here. His wife didn't want to come here.
Yeah.
And so he never came here.
Yeah.
He was like the 8th pick overall or something. And he's this ghost that we've never met.
Well, there you have it.
Yeah. So who knows? But in the NFL, if you sit out a year, then you can go back in the draft. Someone will take him.
But will they?
Why not? People were willing to take him number 1. They were going to trade up for him. But how ironic would it be if it were the Bengals again? They don't want to pick.
Somebody's telling you something, hun.
I know.
And it means to go to Cincinnati.
But there has been precedence for this. Players have set out.
That is the only thing that makes sense to me.
Okay, let's move on.
Okay, let's move on.
So Tua signed his contract for the Dolphins.
Okay.
So that's done. He's set. He's ready. He wants to play. He is I think he's either the number 1 or number 2 jersey sold in the NFL right now. It's like skyrocketing.
Lame.
I know, I roll from you. Guess who's number 3?
Of what?
Jerseys sold.
Tom Brady.
Tom Brady, baby.
Number 12.
Number 12.
In the white with what are their uniforms like? They changed them up.
Yeah, they've only changed them a little bit. They kind of look like the ones last year.
The white with the gray and the red.
Pewter, baby, pewter. The power of the pewter. Yeah, pewter.
What's that?
It's gray. But it's pewter.
You're getting too technical.
I know. Since we're talking about Tua in this, you saw his little brother is transferring from Alabama.
I saw that.
He went into the portal. So
he's transferring from Alabama.
yeah, he's leaving because he's not going to be their starting quarterback. Mac Jones is going to be their starting quarterback.
Yeah.
And then they recruited this 5-star guy. So he's getting pushed down. He's like 3rd on the list now. So it was interesting. Vegas came out with odds of places that he can go.
Okay.
Yeah. So you want to hear these?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Okay. And interestingly, they left one place off that I think he may go. And I'll share it at the end.
Okay.
Okay. So they say the least chance of him going somewhere, it's like plus 2,000, which means it's not going to happen, is Auburn.
Yeah.
Just because they say the system, but they have that Bo Nix there. There's no reason for him to go there. They said Hawaii because he's Hawaiian. Ain't going to happen. He ain't moving back to Hawaii.
But his parents, do the family?
They live in Alabama.
Oh, they live
Yeah,
in
they
Alabama.
they moved with Tua. And his name is Taulia, Taulia. Tagovailoa. Yeah.
Okay.
So they moved to Alabama when Tua started at Alabama. And so his brother actually went to high school in Alabama.
He's going to transfer to Miami.
I'll get to it. That's one of them. Okay.
Or Florida.
So Hawaii was the next one. Then Oregon at plus 1,000. Then they listed UCF. He ain't coming to UCF. He's not beating Dylan Gabriel out.
You guys could only hope.
No, he wouldn't beat Dylan Gabriel out. And then they just signed this kid from Arizona too, who's better than him.
I don't even know how he plays, honestly.
Nobody does. He's not. They signed him because he's Tua's brother. Come on.
Yeah, but that don't mean anything.
No, they signed him because he's Tua's brother. The family
Eli
wanted.
Manning.
You know, sometimes you sign.
I slipped that one in there. You
I know.
almost
I like it. I
didn't
almost missed it. That was a good one. Okay, so let's keep moving on. So then they said USF because they have that new coach. He was the offensive coordinator from Clemson.
Okay.
I could buy that.
Sure.
But I think they just had this dual threat guy sign for next year who's like a stud. So why do they want to mess things up? And they have a decent quarterback there. Then they said FAU. Which you would think, okay, well, maybe that's realistic. It's near Miami. He'll be near his family. But they have a stud of quarterback, too, this guy Robinson.
Yeah, no.
He's not beating that dude out.
No.
He threw for almost 5,000 yards last year.
Yeah, no.
He was really good.
He's not going anywhere.
Okay. Then they said FIU, which I could believe because they don't have a quarterback right now.
Okay.
Okay, and that's Butch Davis. He's friends with Nick Saban.
Right.
So I could buy that, but that's a big step down to go from Alabama to
Yeah.
FIU, you know.
You would think he would want to stay in the SEC still.
Or in a Power 5.
Yeah.
Or even a high-profile team, right?
Right.
Then they said Maryland. And they always throw Maryland out there because the offensive coordinator from Alabama went to Maryland to become the head coach a few years ago.
Right.
And he was the one who brought Tua in.
Okay.
And they tried to get Jalen Hurts there last year, but he didn't go, obviously. He went to Oklahoma. And so that's the reason that's on the list. I don't think it's going to happen, but that's even better odds.
It's just by default.
Then they said the best odds are Miami.
Didn't I just say
Yeah,
that?
that he would sit out a year because De'Aaron King is there, who just transferred from Houston, which is a stud, but he's only going to be there for 1 year, and then he can compete for the job.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what a lot of people are saying because he'll be close to the family. The one they left off of this is a team that hasn't had a good quarterback in a while, and they need one, is Tennessee.
Yes.
And he was recruited very heavily by Tennessee.
Yeah.
So I'm
I could see
surprised it
that.
didn't make the list, but I think he ends up probably at Miami
I think so too.
or a dark shot at Tennessee,
Okay.
you know.
Interesting.
So we'll see where he ends up, but I thought it was interesting.
Yeah.
You know, that Vegas is putting odds on it.
I am curious to see how this kid plays.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be that great because he couldn't beat out these other guys.
Yeah.
He was 3rd on the depth chart last year. And the other guy was a freshman too.
Womp, womp, womp.
Yeah, I know.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. So that's my Tagovailoa, or however you say it, news today. All right, let's move on. A little NCAA news. Since
Okay, yeah.
We've moved into the NCAA now.
Yeah.
I came across this article and they were talking about how, I don't know if you remember, we talked a while back with all this COVID stuff going on and affecting things. You got to have all these rules to be considered a Division I school.
Okay.
And some of it is like how many fans you have in the stands. And we talked about the financials of this, how schools were paying millions of dollars to buy their own tickets and all this kind of stuff. So the schools sent waiver requests to the NCAA to see if they could get some of the rules changed during this time. And so one of them was that, can we cut the number of sports on our campus? Because you have to have a certain number to be Division I.
Right.
To a lower number. And the NCAA said, no, you have to have at least 14 varsity sports to be Division I.
Yeah.
So you can't drop that, because they were saying, oh, well, we'll drop like men's soccer, or we'll drop like volleyball, we'll drop softball, we'll drop a bunch of stuff for a couple of years.
Yeah.
So we can save money.
Yeah, to make up for it financially.
Save money and then bring them back up once this is all over.
Right.
Okay.
That makes sense.
But what the NCAA did say is they said that you're allowed to give less than the minimum of financial aid to students. So there's a bare minimum you have to give them.
Right.
So the rule used to be that they used to have to give 200 scholarships a year, okay, to various sports, or spend over $4 million in support. So the university, you have to give $4 million to the athletes, basically, in all of their grants and cost of school and all this kind of thing. And the other requirement is that less than 90% of that can be spent on football. Because obviously the most scholarships are football, right?
Right.
So less than 90% of that would be spent on football. Because when you start getting into baseball and swimming and all those kids don't get full scholarships. They may get half scholarship or quarter scholarship.
Okay.
So their money's a lot less. Over 2 years, they can't spend more than 90% on football. They've waived all those rules for 1 year, saying you just have to honor the contracts that you have now.
Right.
But if you want to give like a quarter contract to a basketball player this year, you're allowed to do that. You don't have to meet that $4 million. You don't have to meet the 200 scholarships.
Okay.
So that was the big change with the NCAA to try to get this moving on. On the flip side, the reason a lot of schools want to give all these scholarships and have all these programs, why do you think they want to even have them if they're losing, quote unquote, losing money on them?
Well, isn't it a way to like get more people into the school?
Yeah. So they increase their enrollment. Exactly. Yeah. And they get paid for it because that money's really not coming out of their pocket. They're grants from the state.
Yeah, of course.
So they're getting money for it, even though it goes against their budget as an athletic department. They're getting free money for it, and they make a lot of tuition money. So that's the reason they want all those sports. They don't care about them.
Yeah.
So I just thought that was kind of interesting that they're changing those rules for this year. But I didn't see anything them changing about the attendance, which is interesting because the NCAA has said the consensus from the commissioners is that if kids are not on campus, they're not going to have games because that means there won't be people in the stands.
Right.
If you're not going to allow kids to be in class, why would you allow them to be in the stadium?
But aren't they going to start with classes? I mean, I don't know what they're planning on doing.
Yeah, so
as far as like fall semester, I think they're starting it back up. Like
a lot of schools
like
have said yes, that's their plan. Because they're trying to push this stuff through because why? It's not just because they want to have sports, but the sports add to their enrollment.
Yeah.
Especially small schools.
Right. They're depending on it.
Especially very small schools. It depends a lot. Talking about the COVID.
Okay.
NBA. Did you hear this? They had a conference call last Friday.
Oh, and?
Yeah, so Adam Silver, he had a conference call with all the players to discuss what's going on about reopening and all this.
Is it true? Are they coming to Orlando?
We don't know yet. I'll tell you what he said.
That would be awesome.
I'll tell you what he said on the conference call, and this is kind of the bullet points. He said, if and when the season resumes, there are no fans expected.
Expected or like
they're not
going to have people there?
They're not going to have people there, basically. No fans, okay?
No fans.
For this year, to finish this year off.
Well, that sucks.
Here's the big one.
Okay.
40% of the league revenues come from the fans being in the stands.
Oh my gosh. Oy vey.
That's huge.
That's huge.
Huge. He said they may wait until it may go as long as June before they actually decide when the season's going to start. But they are starting to open up practices and all that. I know you've heard that.
Yeah.
He said, until there's a vaccine, obviously there will be a risk and they're just going to have to live with this, because we all are living with it, right?
But what does a vaccine have to do with anything?
Well, so it came out, some of the players, even before this call, were saying, I don't want to play unless there's a vaccine.
But let me take a deep breath.
I know.
What does a vaccine have to do with anything?
Listen, I don't know.
They can wear like a cloth mask on their face while
But
they
there's
play.
not good. They're all going to be tested.
Yeah.
And they're going to be quarantined. So that leads to the next part.
Because that's the point. They don't want to. They're not going to adhere to the rules. These players are not going to adhere to the rules.
But do you think they're adhering to the rules right now?
No, that's why they don't want to play, because they know people are out with hanging out with other people.
Yeah. So I don't know. But so then this is the other thing. He did say that the plan is to have it in either 1 or 2 locations, meaning Vegas or Disney World.
Mm-hmm.
And so they haven't decided yet. But they think
Disney World. Disney
I know.
World.
Wouldn't that be cool?
Yes.
So we don't know if it'll happen or not. I think it all depends on if Disney opens up soon or not.
It really doesn't matter because we can't go see it anyway.
Nobody will be able to see it, so it doesn't matter if it's here or not. But I just want it to happen. And
I don't understand why they won't. Okay, my thing is, there's a shot for there's like a vaccine, whatever you want to call it, for the flu.
Right.
Do people get that?
No. It's less than 50%.
So what do you think that this vaccine is going to do?
Well, it's not even going to be ready until at the earliest, probably January.
I'm saying, if you're dumb enough to go and get a vaccine now, honey, you got more problems than to worry about contracting it.
Especially if you're a 20-year-old healthy person. All the NBA players that had it, they were like, I feel fine. They were asymptomatic.
Yeah, asymptomatic.
It wasn't like they were sick.
Yeah.
We don't know yet when it's going to start, but they're working on it. And they said, well, what happens if someone turns positive? Are you going to shut the league down or this? And he said, no, we're going to treat it just like an injury or any other sickness. That player will be removed. Everyone will be tested. And he's like, if we have to test daily, we'll test daily. But games will go on and will continue.
Right.
And this makes me think, after watching Last Dance and us talking about conspiracies with Michael Jordan and that, if they really thought he had the flu, why did they let him play in the game?
Exactly.
That's the same as this. If you have the flu, you should be quarantined from the rest of the team.
Yeah.
Because we see it. I saw it last year with the Magic. They had 3 or 4 players out for a couple of games because they had the flu.
Right.
So I don't know. This is just, I think it's like,
this is completely
so
spiraled
grown.
out of control.
Yeah, it's so grown.
But now it's like we're so in it, we're so deep in it that it's like you can't just.
It's like you can't see the forest because you're standing in front of the tree. Have you ever heard that?
Mm-hmm.
And we're staring right at the center of the tree. We were staring at each other, by the way, at home. So the biggest thing is, financially, how does this affect the NBA, right? So number one, let's talk about the Magic, right? The Magic, Fournier, right?
Yeah.
You think he's going to opt out of his contract with them saying they're losing 40% of their income? No, he's not going to become a free agent after this year.
No.
Because he has a player option. He's going to stay.
Yeah.
Right? So what about Vucevic, who just signed a $100 million contract? You think he's going to say, hey, have some of my money back?
No, probably
no,
not.
I mean, you're talking about somebody's money. So he has a contract with them. It's not his problem they're not making as much money.
Yeah.
But what does this do now? They calculate the salary cap every year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of how much a team is allowed to spend. Well, if they're making 40% less, that means the salary cap goes way down. So instead of, say, being $105 million, it's going to be like, take a 40% reduction of that.
Yeah.
It's going to be 60-something million. And then that means all these teams that are over that, which is every team, they have to adhere to the luxury tax rules, which means they have to pay exponentially more. It's not dollar for dollar. It goes up like exponentially.
Yeah.
It's financially a mess. And Adam Silver even said that in the call. He's like, there's nothing in here written in the players' agreement about what happens in a COVID virus pandemic. Right. We've never had a situation like this. It's not written that way. He's like, so we're going to have to team together to figure out how to make the league survive. He's talking about the NBA having to survive at this point. this is a very gloomy thing. And he said this could take well into not just this season, but the following season to resolve and start financially rebuilding. So it's going to be very interesting to see how all this works out.
Yeah. It's trivia time. Are you ready for some trivia? Since we were talking a little bit about medical stuff, I thought I would give you a medical question.
Ooh.
Let's see if you can dust off some of your old books.
Okay.
And see if you remember this question, okay?
Okay.
How many taste buds does the average human tongue have? Like about?
Well, I know according to my brother, there is the buttery taste buds. That was some trivia question or whatever, right?
Yes. No, we were house partying.
Yeah.
And there was a question of, okay, so what are your taste buds? Like, you taste like salty, sweet. One of them was buttery.
Yeah, it was like, which one is not right?
But he thinks buttery. You taste
or
buttery.
whatever. Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't remember this.
Okay, so like approximately.
69,000?
69,000?
Yeah.
A very precise, but no. A little way over. You're way over. But it's in the thousands.
10,000.
You cheated, didn't you?
No, I didn't.
I don't trust you. Yes,
So I
it
got
is 10,000.
My first one was a joke, by the way. I always say that.
69,000.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, and let's wrap this episode up with the Would You Rather. So going on this still, like the same kind of taste bud vibe, would you rather give up salt, like salty foods, or sugary foods?
Ooh.
Or you could just say, would you rather give up sugar or salt?
I'd probably rather give up salt. I like a
Really?
little bit. I like a little bit of sugar.
Oh no, I thought you would not. I thought for sure you would give up sugar.
Yeah, but you can use other spices instead of salt. There's naturally salt in things, and like I like my cookies and
Like
cake
I look
every
at
once
it
in a
like,
while.
would you give up sugary foods or salty foods? And like I don't know. I feel
Like sweet or savory. I
feel like as I get older, I want more salty foods.
Yeah, if you say it that way, if you're saying like sweet foods versus savory foods, but if you're talking about actual sugar versus salt.
No, I think it's okay. I think I said it wrong, but it's supposed to be sugary foods.
Oh,
or
like sweet or
salty.
savory foods.
Exactly.
Oh, then I would give up sweet and keep savory.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I love the sweet
No,
foods,
I do,
but
but
like not
nah.
very often. Like I don't eat it every day.
Yeah, I would prefer savory stuff.
But then does fruit go into?
I don't know. I mean, that's natural, so I think you can have it.
Oh, okay. It's
Yeah, that would be my sweet, but
yeah, right.
yeah,
If I could have just fruit, I'd be good.
yeah,
Like along with like my other foods.
of course.
All right, guys, we're going to end on that note. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.
Thank you for listening to Sports Bliss with Rob and Kris. Available on Anchor.fm, Apple Podcast, Spotify, and everywhere else fine podcasts are found. Follow us on Instagram and leave voice comments at 407-494-6420. This has been a Sports Bliss with Rob and Kris production.